Let's talk about narcissism, the real clinical thing, not the internet buzzword. Because yes, sometimes people are just selfish, but narcissistic personality disorder is deeper. A rigid pattern of grandiosity, craving admiration, and low empathy that can turn relationships into emotional chaos. In this guide, we'll learn how to spot the patterns, understand what's happening psychologically, and, most importantly, how to protect your mental health and rebuild your identity. Here's a powerful difference. Healthy confidence feels calm. It's internal. I'm good. I'm worthy. But narcissism often runs on external validation. I'm special. I'm the best. Research suggests that narcissism and self-esteem are not the same thing. In social evaluative situations, narcissism is linked to higher physiological arousal, a stress response, while healthy self-esteem is linked to a calmer state. So sometimes the loudest confidence is actually a nervous system fighting to prove its worth. Narcissism exists on a spectrum. Lots of people have a few narcissistic traits sometimes, especially when they're insecure. But NPD is different. It's a long-term, pervasive pattern that damages relationships. It can show up in two styles: grandiose narcissism, more dominant, showy, status-focused, and vulnerable or covert narcissism, more sensitive, easily wounded, often playing the victim while still feeling special. A simple way to remember the core signs is special me S, sense of self-importance. P, preoccupied with power/success. E, entitlement. C, only special people understand me. I, interpersonally exploitative. A, arrogant. L, lack empathy. M, must be admired. E, envious. The key isn't one trait, it's the pattern. Narcissism is also part of what researchers call the dark triad: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy, three traits that overlap in manipulation and low empathy. They share a common core: low agreeableness, meaning more hostility, less compassion, and more willingness to use people. One interesting note: narcissism often includes a self-deceptive layer. People may genuinely believe their own inflated story. And a real-world clue can be overclaiming, acting like they know everything, even when they don't, because looking impressive matters more than being accurate. In families, narcissism can be especially painful, because children don't just date their parents, they grow inside that emotional environment. A narcissistic parent often struggles to be a good enough parent, because attention turns inward. The parent's ego becomes the center. You'll often see children as extensions of the parent's image. Enmeshment: the talented child is used to reflect glory. Rejection: the disappointing child gets criticized or emotionally discarded. And the home can feel unstable. Low frustration tolerance, conditional love, and emotional volatility. The long-term risk is a child who grows up feeling, love must be earned, and who I am is never enough. At work, narcissistic leaders can look amazing at first, charming, confident, visionary. But watch the pattern. They often manage upward with charm and punch downward with control or cruelty. Here are the red flags on screen. Credit stealing: they take wins, blame you for losses. All or nothing thinking: staff become winners or losers. The constant, quote, idle threat: they can't relax, they demand performative urgency. Indifference: they ignore your accomplishments to keep you small. And sometimes you'll meet the communal narcissist, the boss who plays the martyr. This is my mission, I sacrifice so much. But underneath, it's still about admiration and control. Sometimes the safest narcissist is the one you never hire or never date. Interviews can reveal a lot. Watch for no negatives: they refuse to admit any downsides. Everything is perfect. Evasion: they dodge questions about management style or accountability. Distraction: checking phones, looking away. Your presence doesn't matter unless it feeds their status. Badmouthing: insulting former employees or partners. And a big one: promises too good to be true. Grandiosity sells the dream. If you feel uneasy in the interview, don't ignore that signal. This is where people get trapped, not by strength, but by confusion. Common manipulation tools include love bombing: intense affection fast, then withdrawal. Gaslighting: slowly making you doubt your memory and reality. Triangulation: pulling a third person in to create jealousy or insecurity. Darvo: when confronted, they deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. Suddenly, you are the problem. A simple rule: if every conflict ends with you feeling guilty, confused, or crazy, that's not normal disagreement. That's a control strategy. Important: this is explanation, not excuse. Narcissism doesn't come from one cause. Research points to a mix of biology and temperament, early environment, and cultural factors. Some people develop narcissism after overvaluation, being treated as superior and entitled. Others develop vulnerable narcissism after neglect or trauma, where grandiosity becomes armor for deep shame. So yes, two different paths can produce the same outcome: a person who can't tolerate being ordinary and can't tolerate emotional closeness. If you can't leave yet, maybe it's family, work, co-parenting, your goal is to change the dynamic. The gray rock method means become boring, emotionally neutral, and hard to hook. Use short answers. Okay, sure. I'll think about it. Flat tone. Calm face. Share no personal details. Limit eye contact. And emotional reactions. Why it works. Narcissistic behavior feeds on supply, drama, anger, worship, fear. Gray rock reduces the reward, so the behavior has less fuel. Very important. When you set boundaries, things can get worse before they get better. That spike is called an extinction burst, when a controlling person escalates because the old tactics stop working. You might see rage smear campaigns, sudden fake kindness threats, or guilt traps. And here's the critical warning on screen. Do not use gray rock if physical violence, threats, or stalking are present. In those cases, you need a safety plan, support, and possibly legal help. Your safety is the priority. In workplaces, survival often means strategy, not because you're weak, but because power dynamics are real. Here are the counter tactics. Paper trail. Document everything. Reply with facts, not emotion. Networking. Quietly build allies and social capital. Isolation is what narcissists want. Strategic flattery. Sometimes you feed the ego lightly to stay off the radar, without surrendering your boundaries. Avoid direct challenges. Many narcissistic leaders interpret disagreement as humiliation and retaliate. This isn't about playing games forever. This is about buying time while you protect your mental health and plan your next move. Healing often comes in phases. The awakening, denial, then cognitive dissonance, then the moment you name the pattern. The action, distance, boundaries, maybe separation, and the complicated grief of missing the good moments. The restoration, rebuilding identity, independence, and meaning. And I love the reminder on screen. Resilience is not gratitude for abuse. It's growth that happens despite what you went through. So, can narcissism change? Sometimes, but it's hard. Because one major barrier is lack of insight. Many people with strong narcissistic traits don't believe they have a problem. Still, there are therapies that clinicians use to work with pathological narcissism, including schema therapy, transference-focused psychotherapy, TFP, mentalization-based approaches. Medication can help symptoms like anxiety or depression, but it doesn't cure personality structure. And here's the hard truth. You can hope someone grows, but you cannot build your life on their potential. Let's end with empowerment. Knowledge is your shield. Boundaries are your weapon. Your worth is independent of their validation. If you've been around narcissistic control, your mind may still ask, was it really that bad? That question is common, because confusion was part of the trap. So here's your takeaway. You don't need permission to protect your peace. You don't need their agreement to set a boundary. And you don't need their apology to heal. Your reality is yours, and you can reclaim it.